Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a fantasy psychological drama from the United States, English language, released in the year 2014, directed by Ryan Gosling, and this film is called Lost River. So Lost River is a dark fairy tale about the forgotten lands in America. You basically got these communities that have been devastated by flooding, and basically everyone's forgotten about them. So it's everyone for himself. It's a lawless kind of community, and it tells the story of a family who is desperately trying to hold on to their home from the banks. So they're 3 months behind on their payments, and so the mother of this family goes to the bank. She's desperately trying to make a deal with them, but she can't. And then you've got the teenage son who specialises in going to deserted homes and taking valuables in order to try and get up the funds. And then you've also got the baby brother who really looks up to the teenage brother. So you've also got some neighbours who take a liking to this family, and there's a little bit of a connection there. So the mother ends up being offered a job in this very seedy, macabre sort of club that specialise in death and suffering, and so she realises that things aren't what they seem as she gets into a situation that's beyond her control, and it all ultimately ends up into a train wreck of a situation. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Lost River. This is Ryan Gosling's directional debut, so for that reason I really wanted to see it. Now I've seen him in plenty of other films, and after seeing this trailer I thought to myself, this is a rehash of Nicholas Winding Refn films. Case in point, Only God Forgives, a very surreal, very nightlife sort of film that really captures you by the imagery, and that's ultimately what this film is. And it's very unfortunate because I felt that Ryan Gosling doesn't really have a life of his own in this movie. It is rehashing Nicholas Winding Refn techniques, and unfortunately Nicholas Winding Refn does his techniques a lot better in his films than they actually do in this film. So the movie does have a lot of problems, but I will go through the good things. I will say that the vivid imagery really does capture the nightmarish situation that the movie has. It's a very dark sort of fairy tale. It's a fairy tale that you have seen before, but it's taken place in forgotten America. And not only in America, but countries like here in Australia, you've got these poor communities that are forgotten about, basically pushed aside and forced to fend for themselves. And it shows you the major corporations that are very harsh towards these communities, and basically communities that they're trying to wipe out. And so that's very haunting, and I think that was a very haunting element that this movie had. So underneath all the surreal imagery and all the pretentious sort of art house elements that this movie has, I thought that underlying commentary on forgotten America and forgotten communities and how they're trying to wipe them out, I thought that was very haunting, and it does add something a little bit different to the film. I thought the cast was great. You've got Eva Mendes, you've got Christina Hendricks, Saoirse Ronan, I can't pronounce the name, I'm sorry, and also Ben Mendelsohn, who's a fantastic actor. I thought they do fairly good jobs. The characters are colourful, but there are problems with the characters that I'll go into a little bit later. But I thought that the movie just had a lot of darkness to it, and so it is a very dark sort of tale that is once again very reminiscent of films such as Only God Forgives or even Drive, where you've got that surreal imagery that makes you feel very uncomfortable and very uneasy about the way things are transpiring, and that's exactly what you get in this film. I thought the soundtrack was also very good, but once again very reminiscent of films such as Nicholas Winding Refn. So all the good things, they are very well done, but as I said, it doesn't feel like they have a life of their own. It feels like it's something you've seen before. Only God Forgives and also Drive also starred Ryan Gosling, and it felt like Ryan Gosling has had a lot of respect for Nicholas Winding Refn, and instead of paying homage to his films, it feels like this movie is trying too hard to be an American version of Nicholas Winding Refn, basically. And so you've got a lot of pretentious value in this film, you've got a lot of self-indulgence, and that self-indulgence really gets in the way of telling a story. I thought that the story was very disjointed because it felt like it had no control. It felt like it was doing way too much. It was a very ambitious film, and that ambition gets lost in its own sort of self-importance. And that to me was the biggest problem, is that once you get over the surreal imagery, once you get over the very random acts that happen in this movie, you kind of left thinking, where did this story go? And by the time the end credits come, you feel very unsatisfied. You feel like something more than one thing is missing in this film. And so I think that a little bit more attention and detail went into the actual way the story was told, as opposed to hitting you with all this surreal imagery that really does feel arrogant and pretentious. It could have been a pretty good film. So the violence is there. It is a very hard-hitting, violent sort of film, but once again, it feels like it's violence that you've seen in films that I've just mentioned. So it is a big problem, and I think that Ryan Gosling, I can applaud him for trying something very different within this genre. It is a very risky film. It's a very ballsy film, but unfortunately, while it is a ballsy film in trying to be different, it's not really a ballsy film because, as I said, it has been done before. But unfortunately for Ryan Gosling, it's been done a lot better. So it just feels like it has no control. As I said, if you are a fan of art house, then I would recommend it. But as far as the story is concerned, I thought it was lacking. I thought the characters were very interesting, but didn't go into it quite enough. I didn't quite care about what was going on. Whether or not they lost their house, I didn't really care about. I thought the social commentary on Forgotten America was there, but it never expands itself because it's getting lost in style over substance. So that was a big problem, and unfortunately that's what prevented me from really enjoying the film as much as I wanted to, and as a result of that, I'm only going to give Lost River 2 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.